All right, so I'm gonna be recapping my second trimester. I've already filmed my first trimester video, so if you want to see that, I'll link it up above or in the description, because that one there was a lot of data points. Like my symptoms were changing week by week in that first trimester, and I'm actually 33 weeks filming this, but I did take some notes whenever it was towards the end of my second trimester, starting my third trimester. So I will say, second trimester I felt like myself. It was amazing. I mentioned this in the last recap video where I was experiencing really bad depression at the end of my first trimester, and I kid you not, the day my second trimester hit, boom, it was gone. I was feeling fine. I would say this was really more like a mental mester in regards to symptoms, where there wasn't a whole lot of physical changes going on like there were in the first trimester, where they were physically changing week to week, but there was a lot of mental stuff I was working through that I just didn't anticipate. And so one of the things I wrote down was 9 months being a long time. Like everyone says it goes by fast, which I don't know if I feel like that. Like 9 months, guys, it's almost a year. That's a long time. And it's a long time to not feel like yourself. I really underestimated how I was gonna feel during pregnancy. And part of that was I didn't know if I was gonna be able to get pregnant, since we did struggle for a little bit with that. And two, I was really going off of what my mom and sister said in regards to their pregnancies. And both of them said they didn't have any symptoms whatsoever throughout their pregnancy. The only symptom my sister even mentioned was fatigue, and that was it. They were just like living their daily best life all of their pregnancies. My mom has been pregnant twice and my sister 3 times. So that's kind of what I had in my head, that like I wasn't going to be affected by pregnancy in any way, shape, or form. And in some ways, pregnancy has really kind of made me feel like a whiny baby because it's just not fun. I am eternally grateful for this baby and this pregnancy, because like I said, we did struggle a little bit. I do want to make a video later on once she's here. You know, I don't want to jinx anything, but I do think it's an important story to share. But I will say that was something I struggled with a lot, was feeling grateful, but also like feeling the need to vent about how I was feeling, like physically or emotionally. Like I almost felt like at first I couldn't really complain about anything, because I used to be in a place where all I wanted was this, right? And I am grateful for it. And it's like been having to rewire my brain in a sense of 2 things can be true at the same time. Like you can be honest about how you're feeling, like maybe uncomfortable, like just blah, and also grateful that that baby is in there growing. So that was like the first real big thing I was struggling with, because I remember when we were trying to conceive and I was like, oh my gosh, these people that complain about pregnancy, like why can't they just be grateful like that they are pregnant? And I remember even thinking to myself, like, if we are so lucky to get pregnant, I'm never gonna complain about anything. And I've really like let that go now that I'm here, of like letting 2 things be true at the same time. I am grateful for this baby, but I also do want to be honest in my experience that I feel like there's a camp of people out there, and I don't know how big this camp is that exists, but the people that love being pregnant, like truly enjoy the experience. I'm not sure what kind of symptoms they're experiencing to make it so like, I want to say jovial. I don't even know where that word's coming from, but just like a great time. I'm not in that camp, okay? I'm in the camp of, yes, I'm grateful. It's not so bad that I wouldn't want to do this again. Like, I know there are a lot of people that have had worse pregnancy symptoms than I have, but it goes back to that 9 months thing that I was saying. Like, it is truthfully a very long time to not feel like yourself, to not look like yourself, to not feel like yourself. And it has affected me in every way, shape, or form possible. Like aside from the first trimester symptoms, whatever, it has affected me in sleeping, and then sleeping affects everything else in your day-to-day life. And just, I just didn't realize that. I didn't know that was going to be my experience, obviously, because every pregnancy is different. So I'm curious if I'm able to get pregnant again, what that experience will be like. But I'm definitely in the camp of like, all right, I'm ready for her to come out and like me get somewhat back to normal. So I do want to talk about first kicks. I could not wrap my head around. I would ask people, I'm like, well, when the baby's that little, like what does it feel like when you first feel the baby move? And on repeat, it's like everyone read the same article. They kept telling me that it feels like butterflies in your stomach. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, I think when I'm thinking of butterflies, I'm thinking of like you're going on a date and you get those like tingly butterfly feelings, like almost like nervous energy. I'm not thinking of like butterflies actually floating around in my stomach. I don't know. That was not a good comparison for me. What I will say in my experience, when the baby is very, I hate that I'm even having to say this, but we all know it's called a fetus until it is actually out of your body. But for the sake of like all my videos come, I'm going to continue to call it a baby. So don't correct me. But I will say that when the baby is very little, I felt like there was a marble rolling around in there. And I always felt her on my right side. And I really didn't know if that was her or not, or if it was just like cramping or like my uterus expanding. Like, it's hard to pinpoint what is going on down there until the movements either become more regimented or like more intense and more strong. And so I didn't, let me look at what week I felt her. This was like the day where I'm like, oh, that is for sure her. Where I'd been like, you know, it's my first pregnancy, so I didn't know. I was like, is that her? Is it something else? Whatever. Because again, marble rolling around feeling. But she came out at a Christmas party, okay? I was 21 weeks. The first time I was like, yep, that's the baby moving. We were at a Christmas party and I don't think the music was super loud or whatever. It was for my husband's work. But homegirl partied the whole time. Like, she was moving around the entire time we were there. And that was the first time I had had like that much movement. And so I was like, oh my gosh, it's her, you know? And she's still on my right side. And I will say that every sonogram I've had, she's always like favored that right side of my body, like down in my pelvic area. So that also solidified like what I was feeling was right. Like, don't gaslight yourself. That's kind of what was going on with that. And so some of the symptoms I experienced, and I will say majority of second trimester was fine up until, let's see, what week was it? Week 23, so the very next week. So 23 and 24, so basically the last 4 weeks of my second trimester, that's when things started to get like, I'm not here for this. And it was heartburn. I had never had heartburn in my life. I didn't know what that feeling was. I honestly thought what was happening because I didn't know that what I was feeling was heartburn. I thought what was happening was my rib cage expanding and causing my sternum to hurt, like very, very painful experience. And it only happened at nighttime when I was sleeping, luckily, because I know some people, again, have it worse. They get heartburn in the beginning and it never goes away, and they'll have it all day. I only get heartburn at night when I'm sleeping. And I really thought, because of how painful it was, like it almost takes your breath away, the kind of heartburn I've been experiencing. I was like, that's not heartburn. That is like, my bones are cracking in there. And so I brought it up to my doctor at my like next appointment. I was like, hey, this is what's going on. She's like, I think that's heartburn. And so she told me to eat Tums. If the Tums don't work, then go to omeprazole. And then if that doesn't work, she would write a prescription. But luckily, I've just been able to stick with the Tums. I have had to go to maximum strength Tums. And I am gonna make a whole video about like my pregnancy essentials, just to help anyone else that's out there. But yeah, heartburn is something I started experiencing the week of Christmas, and I'm still experiencing it to this day every single night. So hopefully that's something that goes away. Another thing that I had started experiencing again the week of Christmas is when all these other symptoms started happening, was, I think it's called sciatica, but it's basically where hormones, pregnancy hormones, affecting everything. From what I read, the hormones that are being released to help expand and allow like more room for your uterus to grow, they relax the muscles in your like butt and hamstrings and legs. And as a result, you kind of go numb. And this, I will say, only happens to me again at night when I'm sleeping. I have talked to other people that have said that that just happened to them throughout the day, which is awful. I can't imagine. But I will literally wake up and I can't feel like my butt and my like quad hamstring area. And so that also affected sleeping. That's when the bad sleep started, was week of Christmas, and it has not gotten any better. I probably wake up, like, I will say, since it's the second trimester video, it was probably about 5 times a night, whether it was to go pee or every time I'm having to wake up, it's because my body's waking me up because I'm going numb on my side. I was not a side sleeper prior to pregnancy because of this reason. So that just might be a personal thing. But when I wake up, I flip over to my other side. And so all night long, I'm like a freaking rotisserie chicken, just flipping to the other side. So as you can imagine, your quality of sleep is quite terrible. It's like absolute trash. And then that affects your energy throughout the day. So it's a butterfly effect on that one, but it is what it is. And then feeling your body grow. Obviously, I knew I was gonna get bigger. You know, we've got a baby growing inside us. But I did not realize you would physically feel the growth happen. Like, think back to when you were a child and you had like growing pains in your legs or something. That's like the best analogy I can give, but with your belly. And for me, I really started to feel it. I think this was at the very end of the second trimester, kind of going into the third, at the very top of my belly, like right below my boobs. Because it's almost like when you first get your belly, it's really low. It kind of just looks like you are bloated from like a big meal. And then throughout the pregnancy, it kind of just like raises up where it's more out in front of you versus like super low, at least on me. So that was just an interesting symptom I noted, that you physically can feel your body grow. Body image was something I wanted to discuss. It's really hard. I will say, most of the weight I have gained, from what I can tell, is all in my stomach, and you don't have any control over that. It is what it is. And so I was a quite small person prior to getting pregnant. So my belly has been extremely hard and uncomfortable. Like, there is not a lot of give. Like, let me show you. There's just like no give. Like, this is my belly. Okay, and if you poke it, there's no give, guys, like at all. It is hard. So that has just made everything be uncomfortable. And that did start around Christmas time, and it's just only gotten worse as I've gotten, you know, bigger. So if you are a smaller person, or maybe you're in your first trimester and you didn't have a lot of fat on you to begin with, that's something that you may struggle with. But body image, back to that, was like, you understand you're growing a human inside of you, but you've never looked like this, you know? And I think it also coupled with the fact that you just don't feel your best, and then you just feel like you don't look your best. Like, it kind of messes with your mind. Like, I just don't feel pretty a lot of the time. And that was something I kind of like, I wouldn't say it was a big struggle, but it was just something I was surprised at, because I always thought like, oh, you're pregnant, like, what are we complaining about? You know, like, it kind of going back to that thing, but it, like, you know, your body's never going to be the same again. Like, even after baby, if I were to lose all the weight, get back in shape, whatever, like, your body is forever changed because you created this wonderful little human. And so it almost feels like you're losing just a little piece of yourself as you evolve into this new body and this new phase of life. And this goes into, it was Christmas Eve, and my husband had already just gotten in bed, and I was turning down the house, or like maybe I needed to go get water. I don't remember. I'm like out of breath right now. And I was walking back to our bedroom, and I just stopped in the living room, and I looked at our Christmas tree, and I was like, this is the last, you know, Christmas Eve without a baby, like, with just me and my husband. And I was kind of sad, because again, it's like you're grieving an old life that's about to drastically change for the better. You know, like, we are getting what we wanted. We wanted a baby. We are excited to have this baby, But again, you are about to turn your life upside down and create a whole new one. So it has been a bit of a grieving process almost of like, these 9 months, this is going to be your last everything without a baby. If this is your first, your last birthday, your last anniversary, we just celebrated our 4th anniversary, your last everything. And so I don't know, that was just something that was, I guess, interesting to come about. Another thing, okay, this was yeah, something I'm so glad I wrote down. I put not feeling settled until after the anatomy scan. So originally, I mentioned this in the first video, first trimester recap, that I'm so sorry I'm out of breath. Like, I don't know, sometimes it just, I don't know if it's the way I'm sitting or what, but it just takes it out of me. I mentioned in the first trimester video, I just forgot what I was talking about, that you really feel unsettled and you don't feel super confident about being pregnant and telling other people you're pregnant until that 12-week mark, right? Because after then your chances of a miscarriage or something happening decreases significantly. But I will say, even after we hit that milestone of the 12 weeks, it was like I was still holding on until we did the anatomy scan, which I think was around like 18 or 20 weeks, I want to say. I don't really remember. Somewhere around there was the anatomy scan, where it's just, they take the measurements of your baby, making sure everything's growing right and is proportionate and they're not seeing anything going on. Also just like in your uterus, like that has nothing to do with the baby. And so I remember, I don't think I cried on that one. I cried on one, either the 12-week one, I think it was probably the 12 weeks, I don't remember. But it was just kind of nerve-wracking, because as soon as you're like, okay, you know, baby's viable, it's gonna be good, but then you're like, okay, we have a baby in there that's continuing to grow, but you know, is it a healthy baby in the sense of like, is it gonna continue growing, or, you know, are there gonna be things wrong with her? So that was just another thing that I think didn't realize I'd still be wrestling with after 12 weeks, is still waiting to hear back, like, is baby okay? Is baby okay? And even now, not so much, but I'm still just like, the fact that I'm 7 weeks to delivery, if she delivered early, you know, what that would mean for her, what it would mean for me. And like, let's just not forget that pregnancy is a very traumatic thing in terms of the trauma it puts on your body, and things do happen. So it is kind of scary, but I'm not really, I don't know, I feel very at peace despite even saying that. So I feel okay. Oh, the gestational diabetes test is something you'll take somewhere around the 20-week mark. Everyone kept saying like how icky the liquid was gonna taste. They basically give you like a little water bottle, but it's filled with, you know, a sugary drink, because you're gonna arrive fasted, you have to drink the drink in like 5 minutes, and then they're going to take your blood in an hour's time to see how your body processed that and if insulin's working like it should, all the things. And everyone said how disgusting it was, and I will say it wasn't. I mean, it's not something I was like, ooh, give me more. But the flavor I chose, we had 2 flavors to choose from, which was orange or fruit punch. Was orange, because I was like, oh, it's gonna be in the morning, like I'll do that. And I will say it kind of tasted like watered down Sunny D. And they did give it to me at the appointment prior to that one, and they said, put it in the fridge, it'll make it taste better. So maybe that's for people that are like, this is disgusting, like awful. Maybe that's what happened, that it was like room temp, because maybe it would make it worse. But I will say it did mess with my stomach later on. And I don't know if that's because it was on an empty stomach and just like all that sugar, I don't know. So it wasn't hard getting it down, but it definitely messed with my stomach later on. But beside the point. Okay, the last 2 weeks before the 3rd trimester, I wrote exhausted. I will say that really hasn't gone away since, and I'll get into that in the 3rd trimester recap. But again, I feel like a lot of the symptoms people complain about in the 3rd trimester came kind of early, to me at least, either in the last like 2 to 4 weeks leading up to the 3rd trimester. Another thing I will note is that throughout this entire pregnancy, need mind you, I'm sitting here at 33 weeks saying this, I have cooked probably 5 times throughout this entire pregnancy. The rest of the time I have been eating out, And part of it, in the beginning at least, was due to like food aversions and stuff, like only certain specific things sounding good. But a large part of it has been due to energy. I just haven't had the energy to do that. And my husband is not the cook in our family, and he would rather go buy something versus cook. So that's what we've just been doing. And then the last thing I want to leave you with, this has been a lot longer of a video than I anticipated, but I did say it was going to be all over the place because, again, it wasn't like a week by week changes. It was kind of just different things going on. Was an experience I had that was kind of scary, and luckily hasn't happened again. But I'm in the nursery right now, and I'm gonna make a video, I think, once it's all organized, because if I show you what the rest of this looks like, it is absolutely like boxes everywhere, basically. Anyways, my sister and her husband came over to help paint this lower portion of the wall. There's stripes. It's actually the same color. It's just glossy matte. And that's, I wanted just something really subtle, but beside the point, we'll do a nursery tour another day. They had just arrived, like maybe 30 minutes. They had just gotten to my house, and we had started to like talk through, set up how we were gonna do everything. And it was, you know, right now it's February, so it was very, very cold that day. And I was in like pajama pants and a sweatshirt. You know, we were just bumming it because we were gonna paint. And all of a sudden, and I'm standing up while this had been happening, my vision starts to go. And at first I was like, oh, I'm feeling kind of weird. And I will preface, I've never fainted or passed out in my entire life, ever. So I don't really know, you know, if you've had that experience, if maybe you'll relate to this. But I didn't say anything at first. I was just like, hey, I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick. And I walked to the bathroom, and I'm like, oh no, like I need to say something because this is not right. Something is going on. It was my vision. My vision was getting blurry, and it wasn't like seeing stars, like whenever you get up too quickly or something like that. It was literally like everything was just getting blurry. Kind of star blurry, but when I think of like the seeing stars, I think of like the black stars. This was like you're seeing stars, but it's of the color of the thing you're looking at. Like, I don't know how to explain it other than just my vision was getting weird, and it happened very quickly. And then I started kind of, my heart started racing a little bit, and I started getting like sweats and getting really hot. And so I like walked back. I didn't go to the bathroom. I just walked back to my sister, and she is a doctor, luckily. And I was like, hey, something's not right. Like, I'm not feeling right. And she was like, okay, why don't you go, you know, let's take your blood pressure and just see what that is telling us. So I sit down, we take my blood pressure, and my top number is 80. Okay, I'm not even like great with I'm not even great with blood pressure numbers, but like I knew 80 was like really, really low, especially because my normal is, my top number is around anywhere between 104 and 114 is kind of where I tend to sit. And 80 is like severely low. And so she was like, hey, just, you know, have you eaten anything today? Have you had water? And I was like, I've had water, but I haven't eaten anything. I just wasn't hungry when I initially woke up. She's like, go eat something, call your doctor. Let's see what they say. So I ate something, I stayed seated. I kind of like waited 10 minutes, and then I called my doctor, and I was like, hey, or the doctor that was on call, because it was on the weekend that it happened. And they basically told me, unless I black out or pass out, like vision-wise black out, or I can't feel the baby move, which I feel like that was a weird thing to say because she's not always active like 24/7, you know, that I shouldn't be concerned. So that was that. It was really scary when it happened because, like I said, I had never experienced anything like that. It just, I feel like that's what was up next, was me passing out, is kind of just where it felt. So ever since then, to be on the safe side, even if I'm not hungry when I wake up, I do go and eat something, anything, because I am just so fearful of that happening, especially because I think I was only maybe like 28 weeks, 29 weeks when that happened, somewhere around there. So it was still really early where I'm like, if I have her, this is not gonna be an ideal situation, to say the least. But last thing I wanted to mention, last thing, sorry, is cravings. Before pregnancy, I was very much like a healthy girl. Like I really enjoyed eating healthy food. Like naturally I craved vegetables more than fruits. And since being pregnant, it's funny, I've been tracking kind of the cravings that I've had, and so many of them are things that I like really enjoyed when I was a child. So that's just been interesting, but I will say nothing has like stuck. I've just gone through specific phases. So these are my cravings. I'm just gonna list them out and then we're gonna call it quits with this video because I really didn't anticipate it being this long. But Taco Bell, I will say that has been probably the entire pregnancy, that one for sure. My order, I think I mentioned this in the last one, 5-layer beefy burrito and 2 cheese roll-ups. Powdered donuts, like just the traditional white powdered donuts. Blueberry waffles, just the frozen kind. Cranberry juice, which is really strange because that's one I'm like, I don't know where that came from. I didn't really grow up drinking that, but I've just had a craving for that and it's been good. Lucky Charms cereal, cucumber, tomato, and mozzarella like chopped up together. Chocolate iced donuts, sour Skittles, Starburst, just the red and the pinks, snow cones. I think that's it. That's it so far. But those have been the various cravings I've had throughout this pregnancy. So a lot of like, I would say sweet things. Oh, and also pickles. I didn't put pickles, but pickles, I definitely went through a hard phase. Short, but I went through it. So that is it. What I will say is the next few videos in relation to being pregnant are I really want to do a pregnancy essential video. So products I've used a lot throughout this time as a first time pregnant person. I want to do a nursery organization tour. Originally I was wanting to film like me nesting and all that, but thinking of like filming all those shots and angles and everything to actually make it look like nice and enjoyable video wise, I can't be bothered. I can't. So once everything's in its rightful place, I will walk you through the nursery. And then also well, maybe that will be then. I was gonna say I wanted to make a video about what I put on my registry because I will say we are so blessed that we physically got almost every single thing we listed on our resume. Did I say resume earlier? Registry. I meant registry if I said resume earlier. But so kind of just things I wanted to focus on getting and things that were hand-me-down from other moms I know, but that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I would love to hear, if you are still here, that what your symptoms were for your second trimester, or maybe if you're not in your second trimester, you're not pregnant yet, what maybe you're most excited about. I don't know, but this is an exciting time and I think we do need to remember that. But I hope you have a wonderful day and I will see you in the next one. Bye.